And that's sort of, there was a point I was putting in examples of what vulnerability is, and I think this one's really important. And it's being honest about, this is an example, about what you need in a relationship, including boundaries and expectations and things like that. And I think this applies in coaching in a lot of ways, especially with contracts and everything like that. But again, it applies in regular relationships. And I think a lot of times, I have a friend who is dating right now, and we were talking, and she was trying to figure out why she keeps, going on 2 or 3 or 4 dates, and by like the third or fourth one, she's like, this is not for me. This is not working. And she was just trying to figure out why it's like always this sort of period that it happens. And then she was talking to two of us and her sister, and she was like, oh, I think I know what it is. I think I'm not me early on. Like, she, rather than saying how she really feels about things, she smiles and goes, oh, that's okay, that's great, that's, you know what I mean? It sort of masks what she's really feeling to sort of facilitate trying this date on. But it always ends up coming to a point a little bit further in when she goes, this is just isn't for me. And she's like, I think I have to just be more honest about what I'm feeling and thinking earlier on. And that's what that is. It's being vulnerable, right? That's her being willing to, instead of just, disagree on a first date. And she was, I guess, apprehensive or a little scared to do that early on.
So would you say her lack of vulnerability was a block to her goal?
Absolutely. Yes and no. It was still a place she had learned from, right? She still got learning from that, I think. But in the moment, probably a bit. Because her goal is to have a long-term relationship. If her goal was like 80% of people on dating apps just to, have a few dates and see what
have a good time,
and then never see them again, then it's not a block to the goal. In her case, I would say it was.
It's kind of like a risk factor in what you're sharing. Is she willing to risk someone getting to know her, and is she willing to risk getting to know them to start? So it takes that risk to be vulnerable, I think, as well.
Or risk being rejected for how she feels.
Yeah.
Who she is.
Sure. Yeah. That's kind of what the risk is, right? Our rejected feeling. Because if we didn't have those negative associations, what I'm going to call negative, it doesn't necessarily is negative, but if rejection is negative, we don't want to be rejected. So being vulnerable and being rejected is a huge risk for many. I know I have a tough time at times with that risk, but I've learned through time to go there, even though I am nervous.